What's up, YouTube? Special shout out to the subscribers here and welcome to another weekly training video where I'm here to talk through all the training I'm doing to prepare for Ironman Texas coming up in April of 2026. You may have noticed I am wearing a cowboy hat today and I'm here from beautiful Margaritaville here at the poolside as my background, and that's because I had a fantastic weekend. My whole family had a great time at the Oilman Triathlon this past weekend, and I was able to win this hat in the sprint distance race by getting a second place finish in my age group. And if you look there, it actually even says second place in very tiny font there on top of the hat. I love this thing. I wore it all day yesterday walking around, and in today's video I'm going to talk about how much fun this race was, and really that's going to be it. We're going to talk about how the race went this weekend. So taking a quick look at the training leading up to the race, we're looking at a pretty chill week. I actually took Monday completely off, went to do some yoga in the evening, but no swimming, no biking, no running, no strength training, just stretching out with some yoga on Monday. On Tuesday, I went ahead and did a very nice easy ride outdoors on this little, it's kind of like a gravel bike that we have. I just couldn't, the idea of getting on the trainer, it was a beautiful day, couldn't do it. Got out, did a very nice easy ride on that gravel bike. And on Wednesday, went out and did 3-minute intervals at race pace, just trying to make sure my legs are prepped for the pace I wanted to run in the 5K at the sprint distance race this weekend. Good run on Wednesday, and then Thursday did my final sort of interval ride here on the trainer, some zone 3 work, and did a easy run off the bike. Felt pretty good on Thursday knowing that it was like my last brick workout, and just meant to go to the pool on Friday and swim just to touch the water. And ultimately that was a really short swim, 1,100 yards. Just decided that that was enough, got out of the water. And then after that, it was time to get up to Margaritaville and basically just start the process of, getting to the resort, which is 2 hours away, getting all the gear up there. And then also on Saturday, there was a kids race that my son was in. So we had a lot of things to sort of accomplish before getting to the start line of my race on Sunday morning, and all of that went really well. The kids race was awesome. It was a little chaotic. There was some kids, including my son, that managed to ride a different part of the bike course than they were supposed to, and nobody got disqualified. They did a really good job of keeping it chill and giving everybody finisher medal and just, hyping everybody up. And, my son was a little disappointed after, the dust settled and he kind of realized that he had ridden off course and everything. But once he talked to the race people and told them what happened, and they told him it was no big deal and congratulated him, he was just good to go. And he's very proud of himself. So good day Saturday morning, good race day for him. The rest of the day on Saturday, I tried to relax, try to get into the Margaritaville vibe. I did have a margarita around like 4 p.m. Just really, like I said, trying to get into the vibe there and have fun. Sunday morning came, and I was very excited to get this race done. It's my last race of the 2025 season. Walk you through how the race went and talk about some of my takeaways from it. So the first thing that went wrong, unfortunately, right from the beginning, I had something go kind of wrong, is that my goggles were just like really, really, really difficult to see through. They were very foggy. I'm not sure if it was the conditions, the temperature. I mean, I've dealt with some fog in my goggles before, and usually I can just sort of make out the buoys, and it's not really that big of an issue. But I took my goggles out maybe 2 or 3 minutes before the start of the race, just thinking it was no big deal. Like, I'll just get my goggles on and rinsed them in the water, did a little spin on there, did my little thing, rinsed them off, put them on. And as soon as I put them on, I couldn't see anything. I was just like fog. And I was like, oh no, I took them off, rubbed them a little more, put them back on. I'm just like, okay, I really can't see. For a moment, I thought it might be smarter to do the swim without the goggles, but I didn't even have time to really come up with a plan of an alternative before the gun went off. I was trying to be up towards the front of the swim so that way I could be a little bit more aware of my positioning in the overall race. I find that a little bit easier to do when you're one of the first people in the water. You can kind of focus on who you started with, and typically it's possible for a swimmer, an athlete, to come from behind and start maybe behind you by a minute or two and just have a faster race. But it's uncommon to sort of know that that's happening and see it on the course. That's going to happen behind you. So got up there. I was like the sixth athlete in the water, started swimming, and right off the bat, I'm like, I can't see shit. I cannot see. So that sort of sensory deprivation was definitely something I had to work to overcome. I never felt like I was in danger. I just felt like my willingness and my eagerness to sort of swim this race as hard as I could and get to that finish line of the swim, like, just really go for it. That's not what I was focusing on. Instead, I'm focusing on how far off am I swimming? Where is this buoy? I'm trying to follow other swimmers. I wouldn't see the buoys until they were like 5-10 yards in front of me. On two of the buoys, I was coming to the wrong side. I had to like dogleg and go around it. So swim was 8 minutes long, but honestly, that was like probably 45 seconds to a minute of extra time just because I'm not swimming as hard as I could and having to focus so much on just trying to stay on course. So I also knew halfway through, I'm like, hey, this is just going to be a few more minutes. You're going to get through it. I wasn't like really panicking, just a little frustrated, Got out of the water, climbed up the ladder, got into transition. Little bit of a struggle getting my wetsuit off, but not too bad. Got it down, got the bike, headed out. And then right off the bat, just like how something happened like right in the beginning of the swim, right in the beginning of the bike, got my shoes on while I was rolling, got my feet in, got my shoes clipped on pretty good. And I'm pretty, happy about, not needing to take too much time to get my shoes on. Sometimes that's a little tricky while I'm rolling, but that all went smoothly. When I got down in my position and looked at my bike computer, I didn't have any heart rate reading. And I thought, oh, maybe I just didn't hit the lap button on my watch. Maybe it just didn't switch into biking mode yet, and that's why it's not there. So hit the lap button on my watch again and get going. And then I look at my watch and it's still showing yards. Like it still thinks I'm swimming. I hit the lap button again because I'm at this point, I'm like, what is going on? It's supposed to just go from swim to transition to bike. When you start the watch in triathlon mode, it's still showing yards. So at that point, I'm like a mile into the bike. I'm not really hammering yet because I'm still trying to get situated, right? I'm like, I want to see all my data. I want to know what's going on. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, this is 11 miles. Who the heck cares what your heart rate is? But I still couldn't help myself. I'm like, I can try to solve this problem, right? So I'm like riding along. I'm stopping the activity on my watch. I'm discarding it. I'm scrolling to the bike activity on my watch. I'm starting a bike activity on my watch. Get that going. Look down at my bike computer. It's still not showing me my heart rate. And at this point, I realized that I'm not being very safe riding my bike at 20 miles an hour and like trying to mess with my watch right now. And B, it's an 11-mile race. Who cares, right? So I gave up on trying to figure that out and just decided to go. However, I still wasn't able to really get into like that headspace that I wanted to be, where I'm just there to smash the bike, because I'm starting to be concerned that I'm not on the right course. There's a 70.3 going on and a sprint race going on. And there were not any signs about, sprint or half separating. And I thought that the sprint course split off from the 70.3 much earlier in the race than it actually did. I had looked at the course beforehand on my phone. I thought I had an understanding, but very quickly within the first 5 minutes, I started to doubt whether or not I really knew what was going on in terms of the course. So I'm just going along. I'm like trying to determine if these athletes I'm with are 70.3 athletes or sprint athletes. It's kind of distracting me. The miles are ticking by. I'm pushing pretty decent power, but I'm just not locked in at this point at all. I'm just like mentally just sort of wondering if I've made a mistake. Eventually, around 5 or 6 miles in, there is a sign in the road that very clearly says sprint, go left, half, go straight, and I can exhale and say, okay, I didn't mess this up. Take that left. And the second half of the bike ride, I was able to sort of, like I said, lock in a little bit more. I could see that there were maybe 2 cyclists up the road from me, and thinking that might be the first and second place overall. Caught up to one of them, went back and forth with them a little bit. Ended up pulling into the resort, I believe, in second place on the bike. I thought I might be leading the race. I wasn't aware that there was another athlete that was like 4 or 5 minutes up the road. Fantastic swim, fantastic bike. And this kid actually beat everybody by about 5 minutes. And I say kid because he was 17 years old. He smoked everybody. But I didn't know about all that at this point. I'm just coming into the resort, going over the speed bumps, looking at my average power, seeing that it's just right around what my usual is, and starting to be a little disappointed that I wasn't able to just push that average power up like I wanted to. Take the turn towards transition, reach down to get my shoes out, get my left foot out first, reach down to get my right foot out, and my heel was kind of stuck. And in that moment, I felt my hip flexor just sort of cramp up. I've definitely had this happen before. It's not fun. I stayed down in that crunched position, got my foot out, and during this, the two other athletes I had passed on the bike sort of came by me right towards the mountain line. A little bit of a pet peeve of mine, like I don't understand like racing in that last 50 feet before the mountain line. Like I get that it's a race, but I also I'm not the type of person that's going to try to pass somebody while they're dismounting, while we're all trying to get off their bikes in that last little section there. That's just not me. But that being said, I understand why these athletes went past me, because I'm slowing down because my heel is stuck in my shoe. So I totally get it. Got a little bit like frustrated when they came past me right before the mountain line. Dismount felt good. Running with my bike. Got it racked. Got my shoes on. Got my belt on. Got the visor on. Not really anything too significant. That slowed me down in T2. Took off out of the run, and I can see ahead of me, I can see the old one athlete that I was pretty certain was in the Masters age group that was up a little bit in front of me. And I thought maybe I'm in second place, maybe I'm in third place, but either way, I'm right up in the front. So I take out, tearing out of transition, trying to get right into my race pace. I'm shooting for under 7 minutes per mile. First watch check, I was at 6:45. Effort felt pretty manageable. I was definitely at this point, I was pretty locked in. Like I felt very confident that I could maintain that pace for the rest of the run course. About half mile in, I hear the unmistakable sound of a triathlete coming, like wet shoes, squelch, 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 heavy breathing. I'm trying to maintain. I hear them getting closer and closer and closer. And then all of a sudden, the footsteps stop, and I hear, this guy behind me was just puking. I didn't turn around to look, but I heard it all play out, and I'm just like, oh my God. I'm running. I'm like, in my head, of course, I'm like, oh man, this guy couldn't handle the pace, because I think I'm in the running here for the overall, I'm trying to just gauge where people are at, how many people are coming behind me. I'm just carrying on in my pace, and eventually a younger athlete and then another athlete who seemed to definitely be in that 40 and up age group, they came past me. So at this point, I know I'm okay, I think I have two people up the road that are in my age group or in my Masters competition. Got this young guy running up in front of me too. And as much as I would have liked to sort of see red and just chase them down, I know going into this race that, I'm on the upswing from rehabbing an injury. And I'm very, very happy that I was able to get back to this sub-7 type of pace effort. And I didn't really feel like it was, I couldn't quite motivate myself to try to chase these athletes down at all cost. I figured, let me just maintain. Let's see. Maybe as we get closer to the finish line, maybe there'll be maybe the gap will shrink. So I just sort of let it go. I just sort of let them go. Going. Just come running down after the second mile down the hill. See my family there. They're screaming and yelling that there's just 4 people ahead of you, or you're doing great. And I felt really good. That last little half mile loop, I was starting to get a little bit afraid of athletes catching me. I'd caught a glimpse of 4 or 5 that were kind of reasonably further back, but was thinking that maybe they're going to kick, right? So I turned up the pace as best as I could for that last little finish line stretch, but ultimately I was all by myself. The athletes in front of me, I could see were even further ahead, so I believe they did actually speed up while I kind of more maintained. Came across the finish line. Definitely felt relief as soon as I crossed, because this is the last race of the year for me. I can kind of walk through the numbers of my results here. So swim, 8:04, 40th place in the swim. Definitely think that I could have done a lot better on that swim if I was able to see and I wasn't so freaked out about, having to navigate through the fog of my goggles. So I do think that there's room to improve there. 40th place out of the water. Sixth place on the bike, average of 22 miles an hour. I wanted to break a half an hour on this one, 30:05. And similar to the swim, I just feel like the circumstances had me very distracted from the task at hand. Between messing with my bike computer, my watch, and then trying to figure out if I'm on course, all of that really led to kind of more going through the motions than attacking. Average power for the effort was 305 watts normalized, which is just almost exactly what I've done at some of the other sprint races I've done this year. Really hope that next time I get back to sprint racing that I can increase that average power for my bike leg. And, all said is done, I think that's one of my strengths. My bike is one of my strengths, and I'd love to play into that a little bit more. Moving on to the run, overall run place was 16, pace 6:57. That put me in second place in my division, a little bit more than a minute behind the first place athlete in my division, and a little closer to 2 minutes behind the overall Masters winner. So I think another notable thing here, the overall female athlete was finished ahead of me by a few seconds, which I think is pretty cool. Like it's not very often that I get, obviously there's tons of female athletes out here that can kick my butt. It's just I haven't had the experience this year yet in a sprint race where I have a female athlete end up in the results ahead of me. So that's awesome. I definitely congratulated her when she came across the line. And I don't think I knew at that time that she had beaten me overall, but like later on when I saw the results, I was like, oh man, she kicked some butt too. Man, that was cool to see. So overall results, always worth diving into a little bit here. And, I think that the numbers sort of speak for themselves. At least they speak to me that, this was a race where I did my best. I tried my best, but there were some things that were holding me back. And, ultimately, I think things could have shaken out a little bit differently if I had been a little bit more focused. Actually missed the award ceremony because I went and showered, had some breakfast. They had said on the form that it was going to be at 10:30. So I walked over there at 10:20. And they had already done like most of the male awards. The announcer probably just recognizes me from lots of the other races I've done with the same race management team. So I walked up. He's like, "Hey, are you Sean Davenport? You won second place in your thing, man. Get up here. Get your hat." So I got up on the podium by myself and put the hat on. Definitely a fun moment. Felt a little awkward getting up there all by myself, but I tried to be just quick. Got up there, photo op, got down. And then spent the rest of the day just trying to support the athletes I was coaching as best as I could while they tackled the longer 70.3 course. All in all, definitely enjoyed the race, and I'm looking forward to some time now to sort of regroup. I don't have any races on my calendar until April of 2026 when we're going back for Ironman Texas. So right now, I don't have any training on my plan. I don't have anything this week that I'm really trying to do training-wise. I'm going to keep up with my strength training plan that I'm on, but swim, biking, and running is going to just take a little bit of a break right now. I'm sure I'll be back to swim, biking, and running very soon, but have probably more to say about all that in next week's video. Today, really just wanted to talk through the race, share some of the footage that we got from the race. And, I think I'd like to finish this video by just telling anyone that might be interested in doing the Oilman Triathlon weekend at Lake Conroe, do it. Like, it is a great race. It is a challenging race. Like, I think that's part of why it's fun. Like, even the sprint, the bike is challenging. You're going up, you're going down, you're going up, you're going down. The run course is challenging as well. And that's another reason why, like, the fact that I was able to run those sub 7-minute miles, considering how sort of lumpy and rolly that golf course run course is, that just makes me feel even better about my rehab and, what direction that my running fitness is going. So, final thoughts, absolutely. If you're considering this race, put it on your calendar. It's worth the trip. The resort is fantastic as well, and they do a lot for the athletes during that weekend to accommodate you. Like the little coffee shop place, they open up at 5 a.m. on race day. Normally they're not open till 7:30, but they open up at 5 a.m. so all the athletes can come down and get their coffee and stuff like that. Can't really say enough good things about the event. Definitely check it out if you're looking for a local race in Texas. That's late in the season. November is a great time to race here in Texas. So I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for checking this out. Really happy to share all this with you today. I'll give you a tip of the hat and a little wave. And hopefully I'll see you next week in next training video update here. Take care. See you next time.